Thanks for checking out this movie review video. This is for the 2023 film Five Nights at Freddy's, and no, going into this, it is a PG-13 horror film, so you're not going to get these big, awesome, gory kills. A lot of it is going to be off-screen, and it's not going to be that great as far as kills go. So really, with these films, you're looking for story. And I will also say, disclaimer, I've never played any of the Five Nights at Freddy's games, so I don't fully know the lore, although I did read an article in Rue Morgue magazine kind of about the history of Five Nights at Freddy's, how it was created and the story and stuff like that in it. So I have an idea, like I have, I know some stuff about it, but I haven't played the games, haven't been firmly placed into that fandom, and I do understand that this film really overperformed for what Blumhouse thought it was going to end up doing in the theaters. Big time. This was a big cash cow, and I guess a lot of it was tied to just that fandom. One of the things watching this film is I was kind of like, man, I really wish this was actually an R-rated film, but I also really can't fault Blumhouse for going the PG-13 route because they know that there's a much younger crowd that really is into the games, so they're trying to make money. I mean, that's the business. So, but I kind of wish they had done like an R-rated cut and a PG-13 rated cut. That would have been really sweet, but hey, whatever. The film's directed by Emma Tammi, who also did Fair Chase, The Wind, The Left-Right Game, and Into the Dark. Have not seen any of those. Written by Tammi as well as Scott Cawthorn, who was the game creator in the original Five Nights at Freddy's, and Seth Cuddeback, who did the film Mateo, which I have not seen. The animatronics for this film were actually created and operated by Jim Henson's Creature Shop. I'm a big fan of Jim Henson and anything, well, Jim Henson's not alive anymore, but the Jim Henson Company and a lot of things that they've done. I grew up on the Muppets. I grew up watching the Muppet Hour. I think it was called the Jim Henson Hour is what it was. And they had some really good, actually horror-related puppet stuff in that. Really big fan of that. So quick synopsis. It's basically about a guy played by Josh Hutcherson who, he's not in like a ton of stuff, but he is a pretty solid actor. He needs to get a job. He's trying to take care of his sister because his parents aren't around anymore, but his aunt is trying to come for custody of his sister, and he doesn't want that to happen, especially because his sister hates his aunt. And so he's having a hard time. He really needs a job badly, and so he gets a job being a security guard at Freddy Fazbear's, which is a shut down, basically Chuck E. Cheese is what it is. And it's been shut down for a while, and part of the reason being there were a bunch of children that had gone missing from Freddy Fazbear's at one point. So it's about kind of finding out, what's the deal there and what's going on with these animatronics. And it's horror, but it's PG-13 horror, so just know that. So the opening scene is certainly intriguing. I think the opening scene is one of the best scenes in this film, especially from a horror perspective. I really like that, and seeing that, I was just like, oh man, this actually is really piquing my interest. I really hope that the rest of this film goes as hard as this opening scene does. Really did enjoy that. So just know that. But it definitely looks and feels like a made-for-TV movie. So I wasn't 100% sure why that is, why there are certain movies you see and they're like, it looks like a made-for-TV movie. I mean, from a writing perspective, I understand that. But from a just visual perspective, I was trying to figure out why that is. And looking into it, it seems like it's shot in at different frames per second. There was something I found basically saying that, like, Hollywood films are done at like 24 frames per second, and typically TV is like 20 or 30 frames per second. So I'm not 100% sure. I need to look into it further. I'm not 100% sure why that ends up mattering the way it does for the look, but that may be the case. But it definitely looks like a made-for-TV movie, and it definitely at times it certainly feels like a made-for-TV movie. But I will say how impressive those animatronics are in the way that they're constructed and the way that they're operated actually takes me out of that thinking and being like, oh no, this feels more like a cinematic movie. So that's good. There is an obsession with super tight close-up shots, which makes it seem very amateur, in my opinion. That kind of goes along with the made-for-TV movie aspect of it, but so many instances of the filmmaker just wanting to show these really tight close-ups of things a lot. Like, a lot. So much so that you cannot help but notice it. You're just like, okay, we're doing a lot of really tight close-ups here. why are we doing this? Can't we get a little variety? So kind of points to kind of an amateurish approach from the filmmaker themselves. I'm not saying that that's like an unforgivable, terrible thing. I'm just kind of saying that getting stuck in the mindset of continually using the exact same shot many times, especially in chunks, just isn't great. It's not a great visual. I do quite like the creepy, dilapidated look of Freddy's itself, which one of the interesting things about this is, and some people might not know this, Josh Hutcherson, the main guy who plays the main character in this, actually has a YouTube channel that I subscribe to and watch. It's very cool. It's called Exploring with Josh. And he literally goes around the United States and looks at dilapidated, like, abandoned buildings. He just explores them, and he has a fascination with it, and I think it's really interesting. So it's just kind of funny that he's starring in this movie, and literally Freddy Fazbear's looks like a place that he would go to for his YouTube channel. So I just thought that was kind of interesting and fun. And maybe, you know, me bringing this up will have people checking into his channel, because I think it's actually pretty cool. Matthew Lillard's performance is a joy to watch. The best part of this movie is Matthew Lillard. Other than the animatronics, it's Matthew Lillard. Have always been a Matthew Lillard fan ever since I saw him in Hackers as serial killer. I was like, oh my gosh, this guy is awesome. And every film I've seen him in since, love it. Even if it's a very small role, just a big Matthew Lillard fan. Love his performances. And he is a joy in this. He chews scenery in this film big time. And if you're a Matthew Lillard fan, you will definitely like those parts of the film. There's a character relationship in this that's extremely forced and feels extremely unnatural. Now, there ends up being a bit of an explanation for that, but I just don't like it. I don't like the way they pulled it off. They could have pulled it off in a much more natural feeling way and a much more convincing way with what was going on between these two characters. It just struck me as not the best writing, in my opinion. Again, the animatronics look really good, and they look appropriately creepy. Like, they're made to a point where they walk this line of, like, looking kind of cute, but also definitely creepy, and I really enjoy that. And that actually does help with keeping it very PG-13, because, like, it's not too horror, but it's enough horror. So I like that. Good job, Jim Henson Studios. It's PG-13, so you get no gore, and the kills are terrible, except for one of them. Yes, there was one kill that I actually thought was pretty solid, that they actually kind of pushed the envelope for a PG-13 kill. Other than that, the kills are terrible. They're pretty much off-screen. There's no blood. They're awful. If you're looking for good kills in this film, other than the one, you're just not going to get it. You're 100% not going to get it. The dialogue is also extremely basic. I don't really like the way the dialogue was written. I think they need to put a lot more time into that. That actually makes people's relationships not feel right. Also, the acting. Hutcherson, I think, does a good job. And Matthew Lillard obviously does a wonderful job. But other than that, I think there's a lot of not great as far as the acting goes. And had they had stronger performances from the other people, I think it could have sold this film a little bit more for me. But it's just not there. It takes a weird turn about an hour in that really kills the movie's mood and momentum for me personally. So I hate that they made that choice. I wish they would have kind of stuck with the trajectory they were on. Because for quite a while in the film, you're like, oh yeah, we're building towards something. We're building towards something. And then they throw this big change in, and you're like, oh, we're backtracking. We're backtracking in a very bad way here. Let's stop this before you lose me, basically. And it's a bad choice. I just don't know why they did it. And then the ending is lame. I did not like the ending at all. I thought it was a horrible ending for the most part. Didn't love it, but yeah. How is this movie 1 hour and 49 minutes? I asked myself, because it drags. It drags so much. A film that is PG-13 horror, that is based off a video game, that plays out with the plot that this film does, should not be 1 hour and 49 minutes. It should, at most, be 1 hour and 30 minutes. And I would argue that this film actually needs to be cut further than that, 1 hour and 20 max on this particular film. So really big pacing issues with this one. I would much rather watch Willy's Wonderland, which feels extremely similar to this film, but also has Nicolas Cage in a great, fun role, and is definitely a better film. It's way more enjoyable. It's way more fun. Really enjoyed Willy's Wonderland. Didn't really enjoy Five Nights at Freddy's all that much. But it wasn't the worst film. There were some achievements with this movie. So out of 5 stars, half stars in play, I'm going to give it a 2-star rating. Thought about going 1.5 stars because the story is bad and the ending is bad. But there's enough good stuff to kind of lift it up a bit. So 2 stars on Five Nights at Freddy's. I'm glad people really like this film. I guarantee we're going to be seeing another one. And probably not going to be great. But oh well. I'll watch it and I'll review it then. But this is where I want to hear from all of you. Go ahead and put some comments down there on how you felt about Five Nights at Freddy's. Loved it, hated it, in between. Give me a sentence or two letting me know why you feel that way, and we can have a dialogue here. Because maybe there's some stuff I missed that I should reconsider with it. Do me a favor, hit subscribe to my channel if you haven't already. I would greatly appreciate that. That is your best way to repay me for all the free content. And also by liking my videos. That really does help a lot with the YouTube algorithm and just kind of get me out there more, Also, you can hit the notification bell button, and then you'll know when I'm putting up new videos, which I'm doing a good amount, I believe. But regardless, thank you so much for watching this video. I appreciate it. And until next time, keep it brutal.